hopefully we are live. I've had a notification, so that should mean we are. Hello everybody and welcome to the start of our British Grand Prix round. The home track of the majority of the SLR field, Silverstone. It is a very, very popular track, a very, very iconic one. And one that I am sure will produce some fantastic racing today. As I can see already, we have an issue as SLR Nicky has been disconnected for some reason, so that's not good, but hopefully we can get him back in and he can start the race anyway. We have a full field of 20 drivers in here in this race. Just going through here. With a couple of debutants for this season. Nicky, of course, is back after serving a ban. Caton is making his debut as well. As we have readied up now, so that should mean that we are getting going. Hopefully it's at the right time. And apparently we're hearing it's a dry qualifying, a dry feature race, and a wet sprint race. So hopefully it'll produce some good action. As let's pick a driver to go on board with and I'll take you through a lap of Silverstone in these Formula 2 cars. What better to go with than championship leader Race Roller 22? As he's going through turn 1 now, it's a slight lift. As you can see, he's run slightly wide and is now approaching turn 2 and 3. Brake about on the curb, pretty much, between the 1500 metre board, as you're rotating the car through towards the end of the first sector. So far, it looks like SLR Darnell has set the pace in the first sector, as now we're approaching the first sector split. Race Roller's done a 30.4, as you want to kind of hook the car in and run it out wide a little bit here, and then just kind of go full lot to try and just get your car turned in as much as you possibly can. It's quite difficult as there's a lot of understeer in these F2 cars. As now approaching Cops, it is flat in the F1 cars, but in the F2 cars you do have to brake and you do have to downshift a little bit. But he takes that corner pretty nicely. And now you're just approaching Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel. Brake just as that line comes across on the middle of the road, the horizontal line. And accelerate out of Chapel. Quite a hard corner to get turned into properly, but does it relatively nicely. Now approaching Stowe here, and you want to brake it roughly at the 50 metre board, turn the car in, and then just try and get on power as early as you can on exit. And now approaching the final few corners. Rollers like to keep it in third here. And it's going to cross the line now. I don't think this is going to be the pole position time. No, actually, Crispy has got pole by 4/10, and what a lap from Mason Gammon to put himself in P3. I'm sure he'll be absolutely chuffed with that one. Of course, typically you expect the top division drivers to kind of be near the top in Formula 2 as well, but Mason Gammon has kind of put the cat amongst the pigeons there with a great lap to put himself P3. And the person who is on the provisional position to get reverse grid pole for the sprint race is Owen Howe 36. So a very decent job there from Owen to get P8 if he can hold it. As just going through the field, see any notable people who have invalidated. SLR Bunny, Jaylee Men's Baggy Fan and Colden have invalidated their laps, so kind of puts them at a bit of a disadvantage. But, of course, anything can happen in Formula 2, and usually does. Oh, pardon me. That's lovely. As there's now no break between the qualifying and the feature race, I don't believe. So you've just got to wait for everyone to kind of just pick whatever strategies they want, and hopefully they've done it quickly, because we are going to get going very soon. And let's see what tyres everyone is choosing as we begin the formation lap for the feature race. I believe it's mediums and hards for Silverstone, so those in the alternate strategy will be picking the hards. And Dodgy is the lead driver on the alternate strategy. Bennett, Jam, Nicky, Menz and Bunny are also on the alternate strategy as well. As Colden has been disqualified from the formation lap already, that's not a particularly good sign, but hopefully he'll be active and ready for the race. I'm just going to go through just to check to see if Nicky is back in the session. Yes, does look like he is. So that's good to see. So I'm just going to get up the Formula 2 Championship standings to kind of address kind of what the state of play is. Race Roller 22 is the championship leader at the moment on 148 points. Crispy is just 24 points behind him, and Beast is 9 points behind that. Darnell lies in 4th on 77. Actually, Darnell's actually in 5th on 77. Southerner's in P4 on 82. So they need to kind of be swapped around a bit there. But anyway, at the moment, shaping up Roller versus Crispy versus Beast in the championship, and advantage Crispy with that qualifying lap, it must be said. Pole and by a significant margin, it must be said. So can Crispy convert that into a victory? Feature race around here is 15 laps. There is one mandatory pit stop which you must complete on lap 3 or later in Formula 2. And yeah, I think that's pretty much everything you need to know for Formula 2. Always Dodgy has disconnected as well. Dodgy has had some dodgy connection. But hopefully he'll be able to join back. I think it's on friends only, so he should be able to join back. I shouldn't need to give him an invite. But anyway, let's get focused on the start. Good view from the start. Trying to find one, actually. Go on board with Crispy. As the lights are out. And these drivers are away. It looks like Mason Gammon's made a really poor start from P2 as you have P3 as we're going through turn 1. They're going 3 wide, almost 4 wide for P4. As for the lead, Crispy and Darnell. Darnell is thinking about a move, but is too far back. As further back, Mason Gammon and Race Roller are battling side by side, as are Van Dorn and UK Beast Assassin. But it looks like Van Dorn has got the position over Beast for now, and Mason Gammon has got the position over Race Roller. Looked like Mason Gammon had a bit of a poor start, but he's recovered from that as there is a yellow flag, and Owen Howe, 36 from P8 on the grid, is already out, and there's a VSC, as Bennett has significant damage as well. Not entirely sure what happened there in the background, but a disastrous start to the race for Owen. I was talking that he had pretty good qualifying position, but unfortunately for him, he has retired. As we get up the position changes, have a look who the main gainers and losers are. Bennett down 7, Owen down 12 and out. With Jaylee Menz up 6 positions, a big gainer, it must be said, from this start. With FRA Jam, quite a significant gainer up 4 and just 1 position away from that coveted reverse grid pole position. Pardon me. Which is what Jam attained last week as well. As the VSC should be ending kind of anytime soon. Interesting, it wasn't a full safety car for Owen's retirement. But a VSC is what we've got, so was Jaylee Menz has got a drive-through penalty. I was saying that he was looking pretty good. And yeah, he's got a drive-through penalty, so that is going to severely compromise him, as I am going to send an invite to Dodgy because he's not joined back yet. But yes, Jaylee Menz really on the back foot now, it must be said. kind of opens up position for Nicky as well, because Dodgy is not yet reconnected, and Nicky, of course, is got those harder compound tyres and is on that alternate strategy. Yes, Nicky should be able to get past Dodgy and Menz. Dodgy after he's got back into the lobby, and Menz after Menz has served his drive-through. As looking here, Mason Gammon looks really racy for P3 over Czech, it must be said. Mason Gammon showing that his one-lap qualifying pace was no fluke, and he fancies a feature race podium. That might be a warning, though, through Cops. That won't help his chances, but showing some really good pace at the moment, as Crispy is not yet broken away from Darnell, so fight for the lead still well and truly on, and that could be something that could end up coming into play when the strategy is enacted and the first and only round of pit stops are completed. Yeah, just looking here, on board with Crispy as Crispy enters lap 2 in P1. So it's the fastest lap of the race as Darnell follows suit with another fastest lap. Of course, the VSC period ended right near the end of last lap, so Darnell kind of had a bit of a run on Crispy, almost you might say, and showing some very good pace though. He's stepped within the DRS and will have it for the first time this lap. So it is the UNI Virtuosis who are going to battle it out for P1. As whilst that went on, Mason Gammon picked up a time penalty. So that's definitely going to compromise Mason Gammon's race. Running in a very good position, as I said, in P4 behind Czech, but that penalty is definitely going to negatively affect things for Mason Gammon. At the moment, looks like he's probably still going to be good to finish ahead of Southerner if the gaps continue to extend as they are in these early stages of the race, but of course he would be wanting that podium over Czech, looking really racy against Czech as well, so could compromise that as Mason Gammon, speaking of that, is going to think about making a move here, maybe into Stowe. Czech covers the middle of the track, and Mason wasn't quite close enough to make a move. Van Dorn's looking pretty racy against Race Roller behind. Oh, as Nicky is making a move on Dodgy here. Dodgy has still not got back into the session here. But Nicky moves up into P10 over Dodgy's AI. So a really good start from Nicky. As yes, now the UNIs are beginning to kind of flex their muscles a bit as Jam picks up his first penalty of the race. So the penalties are beginning to come in thick and fast here. Yes, Darnell is now well and truly in the wheel tracks of Crispy, and I think these two are going to end up battling it out here. Darnell is looking very, very quick, and definitely looks like he's got the legs on Crispy in terms of race pace. Crispy got that pole position, of course, but Darnell got that. But Darnell looks to have got a little bit extra race pace. He's now battling for P3 still. Czech and Mason Gammon. And yes, Mason Gammon, he's going to think about it into Magnus and Beckis, is he? Oh, that would be a very bold move from Mason Gammon if he was to pull that one off. Especially considering there is a straight coming up, but it looks like Mason Gammon is going to think about maybe a move on this straight again. And speaking of moves on the straight, is Darnell going to think about having a go on Crispy? Give himself that preferential treatment in terms of strategy? Nope, he's not quite close enough, and neither is Mason on Czech. So it remains the same thus far. Further back, looks like Bunny has got past Dodgy's AI as well. Bunny, of course, invalidated his qualifying lap, but is now a bit higher up, and Caton in P11 on his debut running pretty well as well. Ooh, as Czech picks up a penalty as well. Only further encouragement for Mason Gammon as they are now level in terms of penalties. And hello, Matt Silver in the chat. Indeed, the UNI Virtuosis are looking very, very strong in the championship. And I'm sure there'll be no team orders whatsoever between them, but they could be looking really good in this race as well. As here we go. Mason Gammon, I was saying, he was setting up a move on check, and he's thinking about it around the outside here. Now going through up towards Copse. Is he going to try and move into Copse here? He's only going to have the slipstream. Of course, there is no ERS in Formula 2. Just DRS and your right foot. Try and make a move. As you just look at that, and Check's got such a worse run. As SLR Van Dorn is really thinking about it, and Check's kind of acting almost as this little bit of a stopper here, it must be said. He's not got the pace in the front two, and the three behind definitely have a bit more pace than him. As here we go. Mason Gammon is going to go up the inside of SLR Check into Stowe. They make a bit of contact, do they? And Mason Gammon has dropped down a bit. As I think that's Caton has had a spin, and Check's fed into the pit lane, and Van Dorn has hit his rear end. That is a few laps of absolute disaster, but whilst a few corners of absolute disaster here, that is really compromised Check's race. It's really compromised Van Dorn's race, and really compromised Mason Gammon's race, that little half spin. But whilst we were at it, Crispy made a pit stop for P2, trying that undercut on Darnell. So here we go. Will that undercut will that covering off of the pit stop work for Crispy, I should say? Crispy was, of course, in P1. And yeah, look how far back Van Dorn has been put after that unfortunate loss of his front wing. Really sticky situation for himself. Now let's go a little bit of screen time for Jamie Menz, currently sitting in P13 after his drive-through, looking on the back of SLR Southerner. Doing pretty well to hang on to the back of him, actually. As, UK Beast Assassin, I was going to say UK Beast Assassin had overtaken Race Roller, but actually what that was Race Roller making his pit stop. Darnell and Beast going very, very long here. Have they done some race practice? Do they know that the mediums will be better off? We saw Darnell just set a fastest lap, so maybe they do have a bit more pace. As Race Roller, let's see where he filters out. I'm going to go on board with Mason Gammon, as Roller was just ahead of him when Mason made his pit stop. Has that overcut worked for Race Roller? I think it might have done. Yes, it has. Race Roller gets the position over Mason. But Mason Gammon is going to try and get back. Race Roller goes all the way to the left pretty much immediately to break the toe. Mason Gammon's going to try it round the outside here into the very tricky corner. I think that is Luffield. I think this is Luffield and Woodcote. I'm not a very good at corner names here, must be said, but as Race Roller gets very, very squirmy on exit. And this is going to allow Mason Gammon to think about making a move here. Roller's gone defensive into Stowe. That might allow into Chapel, sorry. That might allow Mason Gammon to make the move, and he does so. He goes up the inside of Maggots. Great move there from Mason Gammon. Kind of all came from Race Roller's mistake, but Race Roller is going to have the DRS now. Going to got the inside into Stowe here, and it is a relatively easy move, although he does slightly misjudge the brakes, and it's still going on here. Still going on. They're going to be battling side by side. The race roller covers it off and keeps the position, as he's registering as 6 laps down for some reason, but anyway. And look at this, Darnell has overcut Crispy. And what about Beast to Race Roller? Beast has overcut Race Roller. So I was wondering whether the overcut would work, and well, it has. But Crispy's going to say something about it. His tyres are going to be all warmed up compared to Darnell's, who will be stone cold. But Crispy had a little bit of a wobble as Bennett has retired. Bennett is out of the session. Will that bring out a safety car? If that brings out a safety car, then the top 4 who have not yet pitted are going to be in a really good position here. But it looks like there isn't going to be one. And now suddenly, UHB's Assassin is now heading this train for this battle for what will be the final podium spot. He's not quite got his tyres warmed up, I don't think, and Race Roller definitely has, pitting that lap earlier, so here we go. Beast, Race Roller, Mason Gammon. Are they going to go 3 wide into Stowe here? Doesn't look like it, but Race Roller takes the position. Mason Gammon back. He nearly loses the back end now. That would have been disaster for himself. But yes, Darnell took the lead in that though. That is very interesting. Crispy could not get back, but Crispy is going to be in the wheel tracks, and it will take Darnell a little bit more time to warm up his tyres. The UNI Virtuosis, I sense, are going to have a pretty good battle for the lead here. And interestingly, Southerner's caught up to the back of Czech, and I wonder whether Southerner could potentially catch up onto this back of the train headed by Race Roller here. This is very, very close here. Anything can happen, and with Mason and Czech having penalties, Race Roller sitting quite nicely in P6 at the moment, and Southerner quite close behind. This could potentially be quite an intense fight. Nicky makes his pit stop now, though. The lead runner on the alternate strategy, with the exception of Jam, but Jam has quite a lot of penalties, it must be said. Let's see when Nicky comes out. Bolts on a set of mediums, could potentially try and go for as high as P8 or 9 here, but we'll have to see. And Dodgy is now back in the session, which is good to see. See, his car is no longer ghosted, meaning he is taking full control of it. And Nicky's come out in P13, but isn't too far behind Jam and Van Dorn, who have penalties. And Jaylee Menz has to pit, as does Dodgy and Silly Bully. Yes, I think the real thing to focus on now is the battle for P1 between the Virtuoses. Darnell is heading Crispy by 0.4 of a second. But it just requires kind of one mistake from Darnell, and Crispy is then suddenly back in with a shot of winning this. As Darnell, as hard as he tries, it is so difficult to drop the car behind at Silverstone. Crispy just gets that DRS and gains a few tenths, but it's not enough to make Crispy pass. As now finally Bunny and Dodgy make their pit stops. That is pretty much everybody with the exception of Jaylee Menz, who have made their required mandatory pit stops. Yes, lap 11 now, so that means there's 5 laps left of this race. And look at the gap that the top 2 have on the rest. It's really been a pretty much a complete masterclass by the top 2. And yes, Race Roller holding firm for P3, but UK Beast Assassin is going to have something to say about it. As here we are looking at Beast now. Is he going to think about a move on Race Roller, or is he going to save it until the last couple of laps? As I said, it's so difficult to pass in these cars as you don't have that battery, you don't have that ERS. They do remain as they are for now. Oh no, as Darnell has picked up a penalty. That is crucial for this race. I did say that him and Crispy were looking to fight, and Darnell had for now controlled it, but Darnell has a 3-second time penalty. We don't know how close Crispy is to getting one, but that could just allow Crispy to kind of ease off a little bit. Not push as hard, not push the track limits as hard, and well, it could cause Darnell to just drop the position by virtue of that penalty alone. Oh, as Fat Jam and Van Dorn are battling out. Jam up the inside of Stowe. I don't know whether he was attacking or defending there, to be honest. As Jaylee Menz has gone off into the final corner. Picked up a penalty and is now finally pitting. Yes. Battle for P8 is well and truly hotting up there, as you can see. But at the moment, with that lack of penalties, it does look like Nicky is currently the favourite for P8, but Bunny is right on his tail. So it's probably Nicky versus Bunny for P8 if we're looking at it relative to penalties. As I can see, Darnell is really pushing now. I think with those fresher tyres, he's got the pace on Crispy. As Southerner and Czech are battling out. Here we are, Czech. On the outside at Woodcut, but Southerner keeps the position. As Race Roller picks up a penalty, and that's very good news for Beast. And maybe good news for Southerner should Race Roller lose a bit of time. As Mason picks up another penalty, so that is really bad news for Mason. Potentially drop a couple of places, but that could also be good for a sprint race as well. And Darnell has now broken DRS on Crispy. Can he use his newer tyres to pull that 3-second gap? It's going to be tough, but he could do it. As here we are, Czech thinking about a move on Southerner again. Thinks better of it. And now suddenly Van Dorn on those hard compound tyres. Being hounded by Jam, Nicky and Silly Bunny. As Jam picks up yet another penalty, and I think he is going to end up dropping way down. As he pulls by to just let Nicky and Bunny go. So obviously does not want to fight them because of those penalties. As speaking of those penalties, yes, as I said, that crucial 3 seconds that Darnell needs to get to Crispy. That is the all-important one. Czech has 8 seconds, so we'll drop down quite a bit. But yeah, the battle for a reverse grid pole could potentially Czech, Bunny, Nicky. Either of them could get it. Certainly going to be close. As SLR Colden's doing pretty well here, actually, as well in P13. Colden doesn't have any penalties. And others ahead of him we know have quite a lot. So could Golden maybe be Colden could definitely beat Jam here, I think. And Colden will be very happy with that. Oh, as Mason Gammon was thinking about a move on UK Beast Assassin there. As the gap between Darnell and Crispy has gone up to 1.6, this is going to go down to the wire. Darnell sets the fastest lap of the race. What was Crispy's last lap? 4/10 off. Van Dorn and Nicky battling it out. Nicky looks to have taken the position. Van Dorn's hard tyres are definitely a lot worse than Nicky's mediums. Dan Van Dorn pulls is completely out of the way of Bunny and doesn't fight that at all, really. He wants to maximise his race time and ensure that he can just maximise his position. As I say that, he was saving up a move on Bunny there. So the gap at the top is... it's now 1.6. Now 1.7. Darnell is quite strong in this section of the track, it looks like. But I think Crispy might just about have him covered. Darnell absolutely gunning for it, quicker than even those on the medium compound tyres when he's on his older hards. Running very well is SLR Darnell. But unfortunately that 3-second penalty, well, unfortunately for Darnell at least, fortunately for Crispy of course, that 3-second penalty could potentially derail his chances for a win, and he's now entered the final lap. As SLR Colden's left the session, that is really unfortunate for Colden. Running in a very good position, but has unfortunately disconnected, which will lose him quite a bit of time. As Mason Gammon, he doesn't care about his penalties, he wants that position on Beast. As he goes up the inside, Beast kind of leaves a yawning chasm of a gap, and I think he knows he just wants to kind of just manage his race here and just keep that gap. He knows his gap is good to Race Roller and Mason to get that podium. But yeah, Beast is... yeah, he doesn't want to fight it on track at least. So now let's ride aboard with the race leader. I don't think this is going to be... Darnell's going to be the race winner. I think Crispy behind is. But Darnell has given it a very, very good shot, it must be said. The gap is loitering at around about the 2-second mark. He needs just one more second on Crispy to get that, but I think the laps are running out. Darnell is going to round the final few corners. You can just see how aggressive he's being on the traction, trying to gain as much time as possible. Has actually lost him a couple of seconds, that little wobble. But he is going to take the victory on track, but Crispy takes it on penalties. A similar story, I think, could happen here for the battle for P3. Race Roller crosses the line, gets P3 on track, but it is UK Beast Assassin, as I suspected, in P3. Southerner moves up to 5th after penalties, as Czech is going to drop down with his 5-second penalty. Is he going to be beaten by Nicky and Bunny? He is! Silly Bunny claims P8 over SLR Czech. So it is Bunny on reverse grid pole with Nicky on the front row on the second race. Czech misses out by 2 seconds because of that 5-second penalty. Further back, Van Dorn gets the final point. Dodgy gets P11 and Colden gets P12. But that's FRA Drown dropping way back because of his penalties. As non-right Blokey is going to cross the line in P14. And Caton in P15. Baggy Fan, I think, has run out of fuel in P16 with Janey Menz in P17. Does he beat Baggy on penalties? Yes, he does. As FRA Ham is going to be the final driver who is going to finish. As I do wonder whether this is the worst. This is the first Virtuosi 1-2 of the season. If it is, well, it's certainly a long time coming going by that pace. But yes. But yes, Crispy takes the victory. Pole to victory, but it certainly wasn't that simple. Darnell pushed him close, but could not build that 3-second gap. UK Beast Assassin in P3, just 0.3 of a second ahead of Race Roller, with Southerner in P5. A very, very quiet race from Southerner, but gets P5 from it. Mason Gammon gets P6 with SLR Nicky in P7. Silly Bunny in P8 with the reverse grid pole, with Czech and Van Dorn rounding off the points. As it is going to be a wet sprint race, so this could be interesting, could be very spicy. As yes, it is raining. But yes, this is going to be a very interesting sprint race, that is for certain. The rain could definitely mix things up. Silly Bunny is on pole position and has basically never driven these F2 cars before in this game. So, yes, let's see what happens. Can Nicky, in his return, get a victory? As we are getting ready to go for the sprint. It's been a relatively smooth F2 race, it must be said, and that is what we like to see. But here we go. Time for rain. How is this going to generally just affect things? How are everyone going to drive in the rain? As yes, the thing with rain that makes it pretty difficult is, well, one thing is lockups can be pretty difficult in the wet. You have various issues with tyre temperatures, and you also have issues such as the braking distances being different. And of course traction is so difficult and visibility is an absolute nightmare. There's of course no DRS in the rain, so it is basically just all about mistakes. And mistakes will kind of just dictate where you stand and who overtakes who. As unless you have a massive pace advantage, it is incredibly difficult, or nigh on impossible to overtake in the wet. As we're kind of just getting onto the end of the formation lap here, and it's taken an awful long time to kind of get things going. I'm not really sure what's happening with Colden's AI and Owen, but Owen is going to be on the grid about a good 2 minutes after Bunny, it feels like. So, very odd. But here we go. Silly Bunny, he has said in the chat he is not confident in the wet at all. Will this bring some carnage? I do always like a wet race. So lights are counting down now. And we are away as 3 different people get jump starts. What on earth is happening? What is this? What is this? What is going on? Southerner and Beast have taken the lead due to their jump starts. As Nicky is in P3 and Bunny's slipped down to P5. But has gone straight on, and there's Van Dorn is spinning, and there's lots of crashes and all kinds of chaos is going on here. It is a quintessential F2 sprint race here. Southerner and Beast, not quite sure what's happened, but one of them must have missed the lights, and that one must have just provoked the other one to miss it. But at the moment it is Nicky in effective P1, but Crispy is shot all the way up and is in effective P2. Can he get a double victory here? Just needs to get past Nicky to do so. As now Jam is trying his luck on Bunny. And Loki and Colden are battling it out. Yeah, absolute carnage here in the first lap of this sprint race. Southerner and Beast, well, that's basically their race is ruined. And Nicky in P1. Further back, of course, a disaster of the start for Mason Gammon. Not entirely sure what happened with him, but he's dropped from P3 to P18. As Van Dorn has gone up the inside of SLR Colden. As now Southerner and Beast are serving their penalties. Which releases Nicky, Crispy, Darnell and Bunny to be the top 4. As many drivers are coming into the pits and now either to repair damage or to serve their drive-thrus. There's a yellow flag on the exit at the final corner, and that's Caton has had a bit of a spin. And someone was actually rejoined ahead of him, so that's interesting. But yes, Crispy and Darnell, who were fighting for the lead in the first race, as it stands, could be fighting for the lead in this one, as Ham is maybe having a move on Czech here. Is Czech still on his inside? Yes, he is. They're going to go wheel to wheel here. As we look at Jan's position gain, he's up 12 from P18 to P6. After that start chaos is FRA Ham at 8.19. Yes, he does get the position on check. Don't know whether that was an overtake or whether that was him defending it, but whatever happened, Jam, whatever happened, Ham is in P6. And now Crispy is trying to eke towards Nicky, but Nicky holding relatively firm for now. Nicky is quick in all the right places at the moment. Sets the fastest lap of the race. And at the moment, at least, looks relatively comfortable in the rain in these F2 cars. Darnell at the moment is sitting in P3, so if anything happens between this top two, you can be sure he'll try to capitalise. Bunny holding his own ahead of Ham and Jam in P4, with the two brothers in P5 and 6, of course. Caton does now come into the pits. And it is very, very wet here, it must be said. Very, very wet. Let's talk about the losers, and a big loser from that start was in the kind of the wrong place at the wrong time. Race Roller 22 was down in P10. Of course, the championship leader before this round, but if my math serves me well, after this result, Crispy could potentially be in that championship lead if it stays as it is now. So that is very, very important in terms of that. But Nicky, Crispy, Darnell are well and truly gapping Bunny here. Bunny went very, very deep into turn 3, I believe it was. I think he locked up there. And he's kind of really struggling with the back end on the exits of corners. It's very, very tricky. But yeah, now Darnell sets the fastest lap. So of this top 3, Darnell's found a little bit of pace and could potentially be a little bit of a battle brewing here between those drivers. Crispy is now right on the back of Nicky. If Nicky doesn't get a good exit here, then Crispy could have a shot. No, it's not close enough. Further back, Bennett got past Owen. And also, the final points position in the sprint race is being contended as well. Here we are, Non-Right Blokey and SLR Czech battling it out. They make a bit of contact with each other. Ooh, kind of banging wheels a little bit, but Non-Right Blokey does take that P7. Up 7 positions himself is Loki. Nicky is an AI. I only assume he's just sorting out a wheel issue potentially. That's potentially put Crispy right up his back end. Crispy potentially try and move into Stowe here. He'd be absolutely kind of just begging for that double victory and pole position. All 46 points that go along with it. Wait, 44, yeah, 44 points that go along with it. And look how close it is, just you can barely put a piece of paper between them. As Jam and Ham are swapped positions as well. Jam, I think Ham actually tried to move on Jam, but did not pull it off. So here we are, a battle between the two brothers, which is something we obviously love to see in SLR. That they were 1 and 2 in the championship last season. As Ham is trying all sorts of creative lines to try and get past his brother. They are all over. They are just pushing the absolute limits on the traction zones, but at the moment Jam keeps the position, keeps his P5. As a yellow flag here, I think that might be Owen has gone. I think Owen has had a bit of a spin. Save his embarrassment. I won't cut on board with him, I'm pretty sure that is a spin. But yes, at the moment drivers are very close, but no moves. But the big battle, though, that is 100%, that I'm 100% sure is going to continue to the end of the race, is Crispy versus Nicky versus Darnell. Nicky just quick enough at the moment, and Crispy can't quite make that move. Crispy is trying to set him up here. And could he potentially have to try and move into an unorthodox place? Could he be thinking about it into Abbey? Could he be thinking about it even before the Wellington Straight? Here we are on board with Darnell, and Crispy has a little bit of a look on Nicky. A little bit of a look, but is not quite close enough. But will Crispy get a good exit here? As Czech has picked up a penalty, so that potentially going to promote Dodgy and Loki up. That's Crispy, yes, still not close enough to Nicky. Still not close enough. Still trying to find a place to make a move. I think Van Dorn is in the wall on the exit of Magnus Beckers and Chapel, or at least off the track. As Jam and Ham are battling out, Jam still keeps the position once again. So Ham is throwing everything at it, but Ferrari Jam is still in P5. They are definitely very, very close, but as are Crispy and Nicky. Can Crispy get a move here into Stowe? He's trying to get whatever possible slipstream he can. Is he going to be a bit braver on the brakes than Nicky? No, he's not. Not quite. But Ham didn't even need to be braver on the brakes than Jam, as he is able to get that position without even needing to make the move in the braking zone. He got it done on the straight. As Nicky is responding to this pressure from Crispy by setting a fastest lap of the race. As Darnell must be kind of just screaming, being the third car out of these three. As Nicky and as all three of them, it must be said, are driving exceptionally well and very few mistakes. So it's honours even between them. His Ham's up 13 places. That is phenomenal drive from Ham, really. Especially in a wet race. And Race Roller's got past Loki, so potentially a bit of team orders there, but Race Roller takes the position. But who will win out of Nicky, Crispy, Darnell? Darnell slightly dropped back. And now again, once again, it is all about the run through Magnus Beckett's and Chapel for Nicky and Crispy. Crispy basically just pushing Nicky's gearbox. Once again, Nicky gets that better run. And he is just staying ahead. Only just. But as I said, just one mistake could cost Nicky that potential victory. Oh, as Crispy just hits the back end of Nicky. And Darnell's got back, and Darnell's got past Crispy. A bit of a mistake. Luckily, it did not cost Nicky any positions or cost Nicky a spin. But Crispy has broken a bit too late and has hit the back of SLR Nicky. There's a yellow flag, and I think that is Bennett that has gone as well. But yes, now Nicky, he withheld the pressure from Crispy. Can he withhold the pressure from Darnell? Darnell was the quicker driver in the dry. The quickest on the field, it must be said. But can he put more pressure on Nicky than Crispy managed to? And will Nicky crack? So far, Nicky's looked good, and it's mainly just Crispy who has been the one making those mistakes. As I think Czech's had a bit of an off. He's let a lot of drivers past here. I'm not sure entirely what's happened with Czech, but he's dropped down into P10. He might have had a bit of a spin or something. That's unfortunate for Czech. Mason Gammon retires in the pits from P17. An unfortunate race in the sprint for him, it must be said, but basically was over from lap 1 onwards, you gotta be honest. Nothing he could really do from that position. As now we have three laps remaining. Nicky has a little bit of a squirm on out the final corner, but is still holding firm. As Ham's showing an absolutely blistering pace. I think if Ham was in clean air, then you got to question kind of what could he do? Could he potentially, had he got past his brother a bit earlier, potentially challenge this top 3? He is maybe going to challenge Bunny by the end of the race, though, is Ham. And is absolutely flying. But Nicky and Darnell are still nothing really to separate them. I wonder whether Crispy's got a little bit of damage, because he was hounding Nicky's back end, but since that contact with Nicky has almost dropped back a little bit. But Darnell certainly doesn't. Darnell has 1 goal and 1 goal only. He just missed out on the feature win. Can he get the sprint race victory over Nicky? The other flag in sector 3, I think that is Bennett. Yes, it is Bennett righting himself from a spin. But it is all about the battle between Nicky and Darnell, as Ham, after showing brilliant pace, has picked up a penalty. So if he gets past Bunny, he's got to suddenly pull 3 seconds. As Darnell sets the fastest lap of the race. Nicky's clearly upped his pace as well. And these guys are really absolutely sending it. Oh, Nicky gets quite a bad run through Abbey. Could this be Darnell's chance? He's up the inside here of Nicky. Nicky is going to try and get the better exit, going onto the Wellington straight, but I think that little mistake from Nicky is going to put Darnell through. He's going to try his absolute utmost as SLR Nicky to get back that position. But I think Darnell's done it. And Ham looks to maybe have taken the position on Bunny as well. Fighting very, very hard here. Ham broke very, very late, but just went too deep, and Bunny took the position, and Race Rollers picked up a penalty as well. So that's his point gone, as it stands. But yes, Darnell has taken that position. There's one lap left. He's still got to get through this final lap without making mistakes, Darnell. This could be still on for Nicky. At the moment, Darnell's in position. And Ham is really pushing it to try and get past Bunny. Telham's got a lot more pace, but hasn't been able to get the move. And even if he does, as I said, he's got that 3-second time penalty. Ham is really, really pushing the limits of traction. They're really basically just drifting. Absolutely on it. Southerner's got past SLR Chet into the final corner as well, so another position gained, but one lap remaining. And Darnell, if anything, is beginning to pull away from Nicky. He set a purple sector 1 to go along with that as well, so maybe he wants that extra 2 bonus points as well. Oh, Zafari Ham has had a spin. He's had such a good... He's had such a good sprint race, but he has lost it. And Nicky is lost in position to Crispy as well in a very odd place. I don't know whether he's had a spin or whether he's let Crispy go or something, possibly. I know the two of them are relatively friendly with each other, but it'd be a very, very odd move for Nicky to let Crispy go for P2 there. But I can see Jams in AI and has passed Ham, so that's a bit bizarre. But anyway, Colonel Moore with SLR Darnell, and he spoke to me the other day and said that he was kind of racing without pressure because the championship fight, in his eyes, was completely done. He was close to winning in the sprint race, but in the feature race, but he wins the sprint race. Crispy makes it another UNI Virtuosi 1-2 and Nicky in P3. Silly Bunny comes home in P4 from reverse grid pole, as FRA Jam is going to claim P5. Ham is going to get P6, but he's going to drop down a position due to his penalty. Stodgy has taken that position. Loki gets P8, Race Roller and Southerner. And Beast miss out on points. As Czech is just drifting around the final corner and pretty much doing donuts to claim P12. But yes, Darnell, Crispy, Nicky are your top 3. I'm just going to have a look and see who the top 3 are in the overall session. It should be, well, Darnell, Crispy, and one other. Yes, Darnell, Crispy, and Nicky is your top 3. So I'll get them in the party now. For some interviews. You were third in the weekend, so you get you get an interview because you were P3 in the weekend. Nice jump start, Beast. But yes, let's get on with the interviews. I'm kind of distracted by the F1 music in my ears, but we can get started. So, coincidentally, the top 3 of the F2 weekend, and to be honest, this is almost quite a rare thing even, because the sprint race is obviously the top 8 reversed, is the top 3 from the sprint race. So, starting off with Nikki, well, you've made your return after circumstances that I will not mention, but you're back in F2 now, and, well, you've started off with a strong result in the feature after being disconnected from qualifying, and a P3 in the sprint. So, how do you feel with your F2 return on F1 2021?
But to be fair, I'm kind of surprised that I'm here in the podium already, but yeah, I know I didn't have much time to practice, so I'm pretty happy with this result. To be fair, that Donna and Crispy were so much quicker in the rain, but managed to find a way to keep them behind. But yeah, it was pretty okay. Hopefully I can do this again with some practice.
Yeah, it was a good drive from yourself in the sprint race, especially, and heart and mouth stuff. I imagine when you made when you felt that contact from Crispy, did you think, "Oh no, I'm going to spin here," or did you just drift it and continue?
Well, I broke so early, so it was pretty much my fault. So I was kind of surprised that I didn't spin. So good thing that I didn't spin and Crispy didn't spin it. So yeah, happy ending.
Yep, indeed. And now on to P2. P2 was, in the weekend, SLR Darnell.
Hello.
37 points. Well, P2 in the feature, P1 in the sprint, and, well, you won both of them on track, but of course had that penalty in the feature. So, are you happy with this F2 weekend? You said to me that you've had some bad luck in the first few rounds, and you've almost got half of what your points total was from the first 5 rounds combined in this race weekend. So, I guess a pretty good weekend from yourself.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, compared to last week, I just wanted to hit every single wall in my house, and this week's just the opposite. It just went really well for once. Obviously, lost the feature because of a penalty, but I'm not gonna cry about that. Just my own mistake on my part. It wasn't down to luck. And the sprint, yeah, it was tough. Just congrats to Nikki and Crispy on top 3 on the podium, and obviously Nikki held on for that lead so long in the sprint and probably deserved to win it, but just managed to find a little gap at the village corner, get past him.
We saw that. Obviously, looked initially in that race like a bit of a sweat fest. That sprint race, kind of just none of you were really making mistakes at all. To be honest, and well, it just kind of just showed how hard it is to pass in the wet. I was literally sitting like half second to a second behind them most of the time, and it literally, like you said, it literally was the case of someone making a mistake. And I saw both of them kind of lost it at Club or Vale, whatever corner it was, but I wasn't sure if they had contact, but that was luck on my side, I guess. And then obviously I had to make the move to win. Yes, congratulations on that victory as
Cheers.
well. And now, well, Crispy. Pole position, P1 in the feature, P2 in the sprint race, and I think now the championship lead over Race Roller. So, how are you feeling with this F2 round?
Yeah, it's been great. It's best one yet, I think. Excuse me. Yeah, best one yet. It's gone very, very well. Quali was very good. I pretty much near enough nailed it, I think. Yeah, it was a good lap, and then the feature race I had a good start off the line, and then I think decided to pit maybe a little bit early on, maybe like a lap early. Obviously Joe overcut me just about, and then I think he he was going to win obviously until he got his penalty, because I must admit his pace on them hards were mad, to be honest, and my pace weren't so great on the hards, but yeah, I mean overall still, yeah, was happy to win that race, and obviously you and I won two in that race, and then yeah, again the sprint race very sort of similar to, I think it was Spain. The conditions were dreadful. I mean, it was so difficult to drive. I could at times I could literally could barely even see like Nicky's car in front of me. Yeah, I think I made the little mistake where when Nicky said he broke a bit early, I think I also broke maybe a tiny bit too late, so it kind of just combined into one. I don't really think it was anyone's fault really. It was just one of them things. And then yeah, just had the pace to kind of keep P3, and then I think I think Nicky at the end did just let me go, to be fair, so I think I would actually thank him for that. But obviously he didn't really have to do it, but I'll thank him anyway. And yeah, I think just overall, so yeah, taking the championship lead as well, I'm obviously very happy with that. I think that might be the first time I've now got it potentially since Bahrain. So yeah, just very happy with that, and obviously very happy for Joe, and obviously it's our team as well. I mean, I know he's had a bit of bad luck recently with connection and whatnot, so I think to get the 1-2 in both races for us is, yeah, it could not have gone better really. So just yeah, well done, and yeah, GG's.
Yes, indeed, and yes, I guess that's a telltale sign that Nicky did feel like that one was his fault as well. Well, I guess that makes a lot more sense actually. Why he would have eased off there, but fair enough anyway. And well done to
I thought he needed
you as the top three.
points more than I do, so.
But yes, that is all we've got time for in the F2 in Silverstone. Please join us tomorrow for Division 1 as we kickstart the F1 weekend. Yeah, thank you all for watching. Good night.